Tales of the Homecoming, The Alchemist's Apprentice, written by Kiri Patrika Arisiana. I met the most astonishing individual today. Initially, I had set out to speak to Krelzenius Vagish, the renowned Vec alchemist and inventor. I had heard that he had come here through the Divine Gateway some time before, and I desired to pick his prodigious brain in regards to any discoveries, oddities, or inspirations that had surfaced since his arrival on Vera. I met up with Vagish at his local market, which would be more aptly described as a makeshift campground. This bazaar featured an odd assortment of dead things, living things, and crude things to make living things, dead things. After making a proper greeting and introduction, I began to interview him from the list of questions I had prepared. At once, he stopped me and bade me to follow him to his laboratory. He said he had someone there that was far more fascinating than his old self. He led me to his workshop at the edge of the settlement. I was somewhat disappointed to find that it was just another large tent given a wide berth by the other inhabitants of the area. Seeing my disheartened face as he lifted the front flap, he assured me that the facility was only temporary until a more suitable structure could be built. Stepping in, my eyes had to adjust to the very low light of the interior, provided by only a few flickering candles. After a moment, I could vaguely make out a shape moving about, here and there, sniffing and what sounded like an occasional licking and tasting of objects in the dark.
"Tish, we have a visitor,"
Krelzenius said in a gentle, calming voice to the creature. The figure stopped momentarily, uttering a simple
"So?"
in what sounded like a purr or perhaps a hiss, and then continued on with its activity. "Hello?" I asked Vagish curiously.
"Yes, it seems to mean hello in the Tonar language. A combination of the common hello and the old Orcish greeting, Vajau."
"Ah, yes. Vajau, meaning no harm, correct?" Kalzenius nodded cheerfully, obviously a little impressed with my limited knowledge of an old Orcish dialect. Turning back towards the creature in the dark that I now knew as Tish, I called out my own little "Hello." I heard a slight waffle and what I took as positive acceptance.
"Tish seems to have quite a talent for alchemy. Her knack for ingredient selection, measurement, mixing, and brewing appears to be highly instinctual and productive. Without any instruction at all, she whipped up quite an array of potions, poultices, and powders."
"Simply marvelous," I exclaimed. I leaned forward to get a better look through the obscuring darkness as I wrapped my fingers around one of the two small candlesticks, and a pendant shot out of the dark to slap my hand away.
"No touch!"
I recoiled instantly from the reprimand, struggling to comprehend what had struck me. I could not deduce through the darkness and with speed of the strike whether it was a hand or paw or claw, but I could tell that it was small, about half the size of my own.
"She doesn't like it when you touch her things while she's experimenting, and for good reason. Some of the mixtures she has created have reacted quite explosively when touched with flame."
Vagish informed me apologetically. "How old is she?" I asked, fascinated.
"About 5 years old, more so. Truly a prodigy."
Kalzenius beamed.
"Also quite resilient, too. I've seen her ingest hollyberry, mistletoe, and nightshade without even the slightest of discomfort. She does much of her experimenting by smell and taste.
Still stunned by the revelation of her very young age, I inquired whether her dietary fortitude was part of her phenomenal talent or a trait of her Tulnar biology.
I do not have enough evidence to say one way or the other, but I have observed others of her family eating spoiled meat and a wide variety of wild mushrooms without so much as a belch. If not indicative of Tulnar as a species, at least I have theorized it runs in her family.
Fascinating, I hummed.
You talk too much. You go now. Can't make with talking.
Tish hissed at us.
Apologies, Tish.
Vegas called out as he ushered me out quickly.
It is well to keep her happy. She can throw quite a tantrum when she's frustrated or tired,
He said as he instructed me outside.
Apart from that, I'm highly intrigued with the alchemical possibilities she could uncover, and upsetting her would likely cause her to depart.
So much potential for the future of this new world, I nodded. I said my goodbyes to the Vec, assuring him that I would return in the future to see what amazing creations Tish had conceived. He shook my hand enthusiastically and ducked back into the tent without so much as a backwards glance.